You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chicago. You're listening to WBJD.
XYZ.
The Jam. Maybe in another life we would have been morning radio hosts, but we would have to get up really early at like 4 a.m.
We would, but imagine how much we would get done in a day. Well, we'd get to bed much earlier.
That's the problem. You have to go to bed at like 9, 8.
Yeah. Okay, so to all the people that are early risers, they're like, oh, you just get so much more done in the morning. It's like, I get a lot done at night, actually.
I don't get that much done at night.
Well,
I can stay up late, but I don't do anything productive.
That's the truth. Because I feel like people who are early risers, when they say they get a lot done in the morning, they like tidy, they get the house together before other people wake up, and they get their coffee, they get their run in, and then they start work. And then afterwards, after work, you eat dinner, and you pass out. This is what I do. I roll out of bed, slide into my computer chair for work, just in time, maybe a minute or two late. Can you believe? Basically wait for Matt to hand me a coffee. And then after work, I watch all my TV shows. I do my puzzles.
There you go.
I feel like that's much more satisfying than, I don't know, getting the house cleaned before you start work.
Productivity is a scam.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know. Is this just me? I doubt it. Do you ever feel like just guilty because you're not productive enough? Like,
yes, of course.
Constantly cloud hanging over you for not being productive.
Yes.
Back in the day, people weren't doing half the things we're doing.
Exactly.
You know, like going to the bank would be like a full day thing. Now I just like log onto an app and do something.
Exactly.
But back in the day, that would be a full day's errand.
Into the city, no less.
Yeah.
With the children in tow. And the husband, because women couldn't bank back in the day.
That's true. Yeah, we wouldn't be doing that.
So that's fun.
Well, yeah, I guess we're not. You know, my grandpa was a radio DJ.
It's in your blood.
In La Crosse, Wisconsin, supporting a family of 6 back in the day. You can't do that anymore.
No. We can't support ourselves doing what we do. Because we don't get paid for this.
We only get paid in your gratitude, listeners.
Yes.
Which,
so send
by the way,
plenty.
In case you're wondering, you're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword. I'm Grace Topinka.
I'm Chelsea Rowan. We are recording live in the morning yet again. We've been on the morning train for quite a bit.
Because we've had plans on our usual recording nights.
Yeah. Our evenings have been taken up. No, I don't mind the mornings either, actually.
It's nice to get up early, get
things done before the day starts.
Although I feel like I will be tired tonight, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's you've had a long week. It's time to just kick your feet up. And that's
Soak
it.
your feet.
Yeah. Ooh, speaking of feet, we we have a friend. We saw a friend recently we hadn't seen since March 2020, which is wild to think it had been that long. But their significant other has this incredible foot massager. I actually wanted to try. I didn't get to try it, but Grace did.
Sorry,
what was your review?
All night. You could have tried it though.
No, by the time it was open, I was well past my time to put my feet in there.
My mom has something similar, but I actually feel like our friend's was better.
Well, his partner is like a doctor.
She actually needs it. She's working like 24-hour shifts on her feet. I just like foot massages. It's like a contraption. You like put your feet in and they become like, I mean, they're really in there, and then they have all kinds of mechanisms in there. They're like kneading your feet.
And we couldn't turn it on, remember? And Caleb comes over, and the first press is like the thing lights up, and we're like,
we were trying to turn it on for like 10 minutes. Anyways, that's us.
That's us. Just 2 girls who can't turn on a foot massager.
What if we get the foot massagers and we like do it while we're recording? And you're like, if you hear a mechanical rumbling in the background,
just a light whirring, just
don't worry about that.
Just ignore it.
Just getting my feet kneaded. Shall we
transition into our poll? Just listen to that,
Palooza.
Listeners. That's my coffee.
Ooh, nice. So I did another poll for my I feel like lately my topics have been leaning more towards having a poll.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's hard, but
lean into it. I couldn't imagine how you were going to do a poll on my topic from last week. Which
exactly.
person do you think was like least deserving of
Yeah.
the scorn.
Who should have been blacklisted? But we did ask on Twitter, what's your favorite type of made-for-TV movie?
Ooh.
So options were celeb biopic, murder mystery, romance, and holiday. And the winner with 64% was murder mystery.
Wow, that's actually surprising.
Yeah. Second place, 27% was holiday. That's what I thought would
Me too.
win. And then 9% was celeb biopic, and no one voted for romance.
That's weird. That's weird. Oh, I guess so with holiday coming in second, most of the holiday films are romances also. So if you voted
That's
for
true.
holiday, you also voted for romance, and you can't take it back.
Although I feel like Netflix is coming out with like random rom-coms now. But do you
They
count
are.
Netflix movie as what is a made-for-TV movie now?
I think as long as it
Does it have
follows
to be like cheesy?
I think there's like an element of cheesiness or camp, whatever, to it. A little bit of self-awareness with how, and it's not like the quality is low, right? Like the
Mhm.
Netflix made for TV Christmas movies, the quality is not low at all.
Well, yeah,
But,
depends. The
Um,
wardrobe budget is low because they always
Right.
dress horribly.
yeah, technical quality of like how the actual camera work is and
Mhm.
whatever, it's high quality. The sets are usually pretty nice, but there is an element of cheesiness, and I think that comes in with like the wardrobe and the writing and
Mhm.
the acting and like the level of celebrity that is in it. Like I don't like calling celebs A list, B list, or C list, but you got more of like a C level
Mhm.
cast. So
I really wish there were more Halloween made-for-TV movies.
there should
I feel
be
like,
more.
especially Lifetime and Hallmark come out with so many Christmas movies every year. There's, I think, Lifetime, or maybe it's Hallmark. They come out with like one Hanukkah movie every year.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction, but not that that's like the the inclusion that everyone's fighting for. But I do wish that there were Halloween movies.
I agree. I think
Because Halloween's such
be
a fun
worth their
holiday, and
money.
it would be cute. Yeah, I would
especially
watch
like our generation, we're
Mhm.
like hot and heavy for Halloween. Like I
Yeah.
think more so than past generations have ever been.
it. Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to like make money here, if anybody from Netflix or Hallmark is listening, you will see a good return on investment from some
I want
Halloween
this-
movies.
Yeah, and I want like the same types of plot points. Like, oh, my family is obsessed with Halloween, and they decorate the whole house. They have like
Yes.
pumpkins in every room.
Yes.
Type situation.
I saw the TikTok you liked recently about how you want to, like, this guy was like, I just want to live in a Halloween town. So those Christmas towns that people put out for Christmas.
Yes, they make Halloween villages. Trust me, I've looked into it. It's expensive to get into though, because all of those little figurines cost so much money.
But now you have space. You have an apartment that is
I know.
quite the size.
I just feel like I want to wait. That's like my goal for once I'm settled down somewhere long term, and then I will start building my Halloween village, because that whole thing's a pain in the butt to move anywhere because they're all like
True.
ceramic and breakable.
That's very true.
But yeah,
Start
Studio
slow.
58 or maybe I'll have just like a house and a
Just
couple people
one.
out.
And then next year she's got a full blown haunted house
I know.
vibes in her apartment.
I'm just waiting. I believe that one day I'll go to an estate sale of someone who had a Halloween village, and I'll be able to buy everything from there, because I've gotten so many Halloween decorations from estate sales.
That is really smart. Or if anybody is listening and you are getting rid of your Halloween village for a low price,
Let me know.
hit it. Find us in the DMs because, eager
I'll road
buyers
trip
ahead.
to pick it up.
Seriously. I mean, even if you got it for a low price, like shipping, man, you never know. It might work out to your benefit.
Yeah.
Anyway. But I think, to go back to the poll, I
Mhm.
prefer the holiday films for sure.
Mhm.
And that's probably because those are the only ones I really watch. Grace
Mhm.
got me into them. I am excited for the holiday, like the Netflix holiday films every year when they come out now. I always think about, this is not like a made for TV Christmas movie, but it has that vibe to it still. The one we watched with Amelia Clarke as the elf
Oh,
when we were in Indiana.
what was that one called? Last Christmas.
Last Christmas.
That
I
one
think about
actually
that all
came
the
out
time.
in theaters, and it is like the weirdest plot.
It's trippy.
Well, first of all, there's so many weird things about the movie, like the
Yes.
fake accents. because the parents were playing like immigrants from
Russia or
Russia,
something.
but it was like a famous actress who's not Russian.
It was Allison Janney.
No, or is that her name? Wasn't it the woman who played opposite Snape in that Christmas movie that everyone likes that I don't think is that good?
Oh,
Sorry, this is horrible.
this is horrible. I have the IMDb coming up right now. It is.
I always get her confused with the mom from Parent Trap, but it's not her.
Oh my god, it was Emma Thompson.
There we
LOL,
go.
Allison Janney.
Yeah.
Which also, if either of those actresses had played this mom role, neither of them are Eastern European and were pulling off this accent. It
was very strange. And the bloopers were like 20 minutes long. Anyways,
and it was so
you
weird.
just have
It was
to
so
watch it
trippy the whole time. Grace and I were like, wait, what's happening? Is she dead the whole time? We thought it was weird.
You have to watch it. If you do watch it, let us know what
Yes.
you think. Should we get into Hearts and Shites?
Yeah, I have a corrections corner.
Oh, hit me.
So last week I talked about the Hollywood Blacklist. Great
Mhm.
topic. Thanks for listening about it. We had a lovely listener write to us to tell me specifically that I had been saying a very important aspect of my topic incorrectly. So I was saying the House of Un-American Activities Committee.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually House Un-American Activities Committee. There's no of, which, fine. I admit that I was wrong.
There should be an of.
But there should be enough, because honestly, it's like begging for an article. Is that an article? Is of an article in that instance?
Sure, if you say so.
It's like begging for a word there. Okay. Because I think it's like the Un-American Activities Committee in the House of Representatives, right? Like, I think that's what it's trying to say.
Yeah.
But let's just all collectively agree that whoever's naming these goddamn committees,
they have no imagination.
There's nothing going on there. There's no spark. There's no life. I was just, honestly, I was doing the House Un-American Activities Committee a favor.
It doesn't sound right, just like that.
It doesn't. So, even though I was wrong, I was right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's me. That's my personality boiled down into a very, very small phrase. So,
classic cheese.
Classic me. I think now we can go into the hits and shits.
Sure. Did you do the Monday New Yorker by Anna Schechtman, August 15th?
Oh, yes.
I had a lot from here that I liked.
It's a good one.
The opener, one across, title holders, was e-readers.
Good.
19 across, the Brady Bunch, e.g., blended family.
That was a good one. I liked that one a lot.
Yeah. And to think, like, the Brady Bunch was a big deal when it came out, because there weren't a lot of, like, depictions of blended families.
Exactly.
39 across, web platform that feminist scholar Catherine A. McKinnon called a pimp in a Times opinion, OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Not so much the cluing, but it was just interesting to see OnlyFans in the
It's also
grid.
I thought the clue was interesting as well. I was like, okay, let me find this opinion piece. I should read this because I'm curious.
4 down, it might teach you perspective. Art lesson.
It's good. I remember my first perspective lesson in art class.
I don't. I never took art. Well,
that's crazy.
Yeah, sorry. This is something I learned, and it reminded me of an old topic. Maybe it came up in the topic, but I don't remember. 37 down, country in which chess is a mandatory primary school subject. Armenia.
Amazing.
Do you think the Kardashians are really good at chess? Aren't they Armenian?
I think they are, and they better be.
It's never come up on the show.
Never.
And then this was another shout out to a topic. 13 down, source of some ratings. Nielsen.
Oh yeah, that was from episode 127. I had such a hard time figuring out which episode this was from because I think we have like a master topic list that we have and we update it periodically, but never like regularly enough, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's updated to like episode 113, which is a lot. But this is episode 127, which meant if I wanted to figure out which topic this is from, I had to go back and read Grace's titles and her episode descriptions, and it was hilarious to do so. but I feel for the listeners who are trying to find any sort of topic specifically. If you ever struggle with a topic, just write to us.
Although this is only helpful for Chelsea. You can always just search a word in Google Drive.
It's true, yeah.
And then our research will come up. Anyways, sorry to everyone else. You don't have access to our Google Drive, so
that's crazy.
Can't do that.
Also from that puzzle, I really liked 62 across. Cut a dashing figure. And the answer was look good. I just like a dashing figure. Very nice. I've been really I like suit pants or like trousers.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when you have them on, it's like you feel very dashing when you put like a pair of trousers on. I also liked 3 down, devices that release waves into canals. And the answer is earbuds.
Your ear canals.
Ear canals. And it's just a reminder to you and I, Grace, we need to commit to the earplugs. You gotta do it.
We want to get custom fitted earplugs.
You gotta do it. I'm going to take us to the Sunday WAPO, Washington Post, by Evan Bernholz, because you have inspired me to start doing them again. They are so much fun. And also, I feel like I've gotten so much better at puzzles in quarantine or since we, started recording virtually. The Sunday used to be very difficult for me to get through by myself. And I'm able to get through the whole thing by myself with just a couple errors. I mean, I'm not fast, but just to
not
say.
fast, but she's efficient.
I am efficient. I loved the theme. The themes are some of the best parts about the Evan puzzles. What'd you say?
I said that's the same. I don't want to be like fast and efficient are kind of similar. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway,
that's my own. That's the voices in my own head that are constantly critiquing me.
Let them out. Let them out.
Sometimes I let the thoughts win.
The theme was the revealer was 113 across, hearing related. Speaking of earbuds and earplugs, and what's spelled out by 8 words in this puzzle when you say them out loud? And the answer is auditory. Okay. And so essentially there's these themed clues and answers, and the ends of those answers spell out phonetically auditory, auditory. I'll just give you a couple to give you an example of what I'm talking about. 22 across, this was the first one. Quote, 3 base hit, end quote. And the answer was triple A. So A at the end of the word, but it's spelled E-H, like A.
Like the Canadian A?
Yeah. So then 35 across, I'm not the one who's going to change directions here. End quote. No, U-turn. So the word you. So A and then U. You know what I'm saying here? All right, 39 down. Rocker Schneider, when educating students at a French school, ? Maitre D. So D, we got A, U, we got D. And then let's do 49 across. Quote, how is that affirmative vote supposed to help? End quote. What can I do? I spelled A-Y-E.
I liked
so
that
it's
one.
A-U-D-I. And then there's more, of course, because it eventually spells out auditory. But I also liked 4 down. This answer often has more than 7 letters. The clue is it's like meta vibes. Love it. And the answer is mailbox. So fun. And it's true. My mailbox often holds more than 7 letters because I constantly forget to check it.
And it's all like spam.
It's all spam.
At least it's how it is for me.
Yeah, it's like neighbor. It's like so-and-so or current neighbor. And I'm like, this is from a resident that hasn't been here for 10 years. But
one time for one of our topics, I think it was dream catchers, I got a bunch of information from a Indigenous Peoples Museum website. And so I donated to them. I don't know what happened, but I guess who I donated to, it's a Christian school. It's St. John's, Native American, da-da-da-da-da. And they send me stuff. I'm like, I did not know that this is what it was. No, this is the exact opposite of what I want to be supporting.
Yeah.
You Christianity is the reason why so much Native American culture has been lost because they were forced to like stop speaking their languages and go to Christian schools and da-da-da.
Yeah. Children were separated from families.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hair was cut.
The whole
that's I get that a lot in my mail, and it's like a constant reminder that I did something horrible.
Ay.
But like the website did not seem like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's not what I donated to. Maybe that organization just like gets names from different,
Right. It's possible. Any place where you put your email in, you have to be careful because they're probably selling your email. Like there are very few rules regulating that here. So, yep.
Well, okay. From that puzzle, I also liked 125 across. Be a member of a dream team ? And the answer was sleep. Don't you wish you could dream together, like you could meet up with people in your dreams?
Yes.
84 down, where people drop their butts. The answer was ashtrays.
Nice.
92 down, Banks, who once hosted her own talk show. Tyra. I just like that she's in there, and the Tyra Banks show was like wild.
Yeah,
I cannot believe some of the stuff they had on TV.
Yes, bananas.
And then 87 down, I didn't know this. Return of the Jedi creature whose name is never actually spoken in the film. And the answer is Ewok. Not that I'm like a huge Star Wars fan, but I didn't realize Ewok is never spoken in the films.
Yeah. I think that's like one of like the most common characters that somebody might know.
Yeah, but how do they know the name? Is it written somewhere, but not spoken?
Right. If you're a Star Wars fan,
I'm sure there's some nerd out there who can let us know.
Feel free to let us know. It's not information that that's more of like a rhetorical question,
I do. I mean, I am interested in knowing, but it doesn't. If it's like a whole thing, then I'm not. But like, if it's just a quick like, oh yeah, George Lucas like told everyone that's what they were called.
It's got to be something like that, right?
Well, it's based off books, so maybe people know from that.
Okay, there we go.
Anyway, that's my Star Wars stuff.
All right. I did the the Monday, August 15th New York Times by Simon Marotte. I really liked one across. Fast food pork sandwich, and the answer was McRib.
That was also one of my hits.
It took me ages to figure this out because I don't know, I think the cluing like threw me off, and also I feel like for so much of our life the McRib has not been like available. It's been one of those like elusive fast food menu items that they finally brought back, right?
People love the McRib.
They do. And when I put the McRib into the crossword, I was like, oh, of course it's McRib, but whatever. I also really liked 52 down. So this is pretty innocuous. Quick snooze, and the answer was nap. But then I got to the downs. That was 52 across. And then I got to the downs, and then 8 down was super quick snooze. And the answer was micro sleep. So I just like when constructors will put something in a puzzle and you keep solving, then you go to the downs, and then you're like, they add something additional to that clue of like, it's seemingly
it's like just a callback.
Yes, exactly. Very fun. Also, it made me wonder, like, what's the difference between a nap and a microsleep? So a nap apparently is between 20 and 30 minutes. Keep it tight, keep it short.
Not the way I do it.
Right. And then a microsleep is just matter of minutes. So that's like kind of like dad's on the couch, like nodding off.
Like, I'm not sleeping.
I'm awake. Yeah.
I can't do short naps. Because then what's the point?
Yeah.
And then I can't fall asleep because I'm anxious about having to wake up soon. So
I literally can't.
My best time to nap is like wake up really early only on Saturday, because I don't like to nap on Sundays because then I can't fall asleep at night and have to wake up early for work. That's how I do it. For anyone wondering.
I can't nap at all. That's how crazy my guilt, my productivity guilt is, and my anxiety is that I'm going to miss out on something, but also that like I could be doing something more fun. I'm always thinking I could be doing something more fun. Like, is this how I want to be spending my time?
I definitely don't nap as often as I used to. Getting old.
We're old. What else?
From that puzzle, I liked 41 down. Narcissist's journey in question marks, or in quotes. And it was ego trip.
Good. Very good.
45 down, not al fresco. The answer was indoors, and it's just another reminder to use al fresco more often.
Yes.
And then I don't know, I thought this one was kind of weird. 46 down, one of about 53 in a typical Oreo cookie, and the answer was calorie. Just like...
I thought the same thing. I
know that there, like, some people struggle with, a lot of people struggle with our diet culture, but I'm sure there's so many people in the world who know that there's 53 calories in a single Oreo cookie.
Yeah.
And they know it for, like, a bunch of other
things as well.
Food and drinks as well.
No bueno.
It just, like, felt...
Yeah.
I don't know.
We don't necessarily need that in a crossword, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Indoors. Oh, I also one down. Counterpart of a she shed, and the answer is man cave. Normally, like, man caves and she sheds, I, like, just on the name alone, like, on principle, I'm like,
I was going to put this in as, like, a shit, too, because, I don't know, I just, like, the names themselves just make my skin crawl.
But then I feel like the concept, as someone who, like, really loves to decorate, don't judge me for my filming room. It's a very different, weird situation because they painted the,
don't
I'm
explain
renting.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Very few people are watching our YouTube, so you don't need to explain to the majority of our listeners.
I promise that the rest of my apartment is decorated, like, very specifically. But I could see, like, if I lived with someone who wasn't into my decoration style, I'd be like, okay, you can have, like, this room and do whatever you want with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard when you have someone who's either not interested in decorating or, like, maybe has a style that completely clashes with your own. Or maybe they don't have a style, but they have items that they really want to put out and display, but just do not jive with your style. I've had many conversations with my boyfriend about whether or not we were going to display his replica sword collection. In our current tiny apartment, there's no space, unfortunately.
That's what man cave's for. Luckily, I don't live with a man, so it's not an issue, but...
I mean, the swords themselves are really cool, and they have a very specific vibe to them that will be perfect for a room that fits that specific vibe. We currently don't have that, you know what I mean? So we just have to make compromises, and by we, I mean he. So...
But I would like my own man cave, like...
Yeah.
One day, like, very comfy, I could do that.
I also feel
lots of room on the floor to crawl around. And...
Exactly. Fun, like, comfy and cozy. I also feel like I have a specific vibe of, like, how I want my main apartment to look. But I have a desired vibe of how, like, I want an office to look. Like, I'm really into the color pink. I really like cute, like, kawaii, like, Japanese things, like, very, like, cutesy, like, Hello Kitty vibe type stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't want my whole apartment to feel like that, you know? But I wouldn't like a maximalist, like, Hello Kitty pink office space at some point.
I love that for you.
Thank you. But I don't have, first of all, I don't have an office. And second of all, that's it. That's it. That's all.
Well, so maybe not man cave or she shed, but maybe, like, it's the name that's throwing me off.
Yes.
Maybe just, like, personal den or something.
Exactly.
Because
personality
deserves
room.
To have their own, little space, even if you live with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Well, that's it. That's all I got.
All. I feel like I could talk about more, but let's move into our hits and shits.
We've been gabbing for a while.
Gabbing.
Our topics.
Oh,
Flip
our
the
topics,
coin.
yes. Okay, I'm flipping the coin now. Oh my god, it's Tailsy yet again.
Okay, good. Only because I realized I didn't bring my water in here, and I'm like, my mouth is drying up as we go. Sorry to our listeners. My topic comes from the August 17th USA Today puzzle Triple OT by Zaushim Bernikel, edited by Eric Agard. 37 down, bird in a magic act. And the answer is dove.
You're talking about magic?
I'm talking about performance magic, yes.
Magic! I love it.
I was inspired because I recently went to a magic show and I have the ticket here to prove it for anyone watching on Zoom.
It's
Dennis
a very
Watkins,
cute ticket.
Magic Parlor. The best close-up magician in Chicago. Dennis Watkins. Oh, go see him. I've seen like all his shows. I'm his biggest fan.
She really is a big fan of him, so trust her opinion here.
Yeah. He's good. And he's so sweet. Okay. magic or illusion. There's Penn and Teller, Houdini, which I did a topic on, David Copperfield, Alexander Herman, some familiar names you may have heard of, but those guys go as far back as the 19th century. But magic as performing art has been around much longer.
Okay.
So there is an Egyptian literary papyrus. Am I pronouncing that right?
Papyrus?
From 2500 BCE that portrays a magician named Dedi performing a trick for the king. In the story, Dedi replaces the heads of decapitated animals and then makes prophecies to the king.
Oh, wow.
There's also a painting on the tomb wall of Becket III from 21st century BCE in Egypt that shows two men sitting around a table with inverted bowls, and some people believe that this may be one of the first depictions of the cup and balls routine, which is, when you have something underneath a cup and you're moving it around.
Right.
There were also magicians in ancient Rome. So they're called the Acetabulari, were a group of magicians that performed the cup and balls routine, which is a horrible name, in ancient Rome, starting in 50 CE, or 50 Common Era, and lasting for 250 years. And the name Acetabulari is because they use small vinegar cups, and I'm assuming vinegar in Italian is like something with acete,
There we go. She knows her Italian, or whatever.
Well, I know in Spanish it's something like that, so I'm assuming it's probably similar. There's a quote from Seneca the Younger of Rome from 65 Common Era, where he talks about these types of magic shows that also include sleight of hand tricks. This is the quote. Such quibbles are just as harmlessly deceptive as the juggler's cup and dice, in which it is the very trickery that pleases me. But show me how the trick is done, and I have lost my interest therein.
Oh.
Which is something we'll talk about, because I feel like there's two different types of people when it comes to watching magic. It's like, you either just accept it as it is and you're amazed, or you're like me and you're trying to figure out, like, okay, how did they do this?
Right.
So obviously Seneca the Younger didn't want to know how it was done. He just liked being tricked. But not everyone loved magic shows. From about 400 to 1500 Common Era, it was linked to the occult and witchcraft. So magic performances became less common. But then in 1584, Reginald Scott published The Discovery of Witchcraft, a book that was written to persuade society that people probably shouldn't be burned at the stake for performing simple magic tricks. And it was basically a book that revealed how all these like so-called magic tricks were done, saying like, this isn't black magic, these are all just tricks. So that's like one of the first published books on performance magic.
Wow. Sleight of hand magic. Okay.
Yes. And fun fact, in 1603, King James I found the book to be heretical, and he ordered them all to be burned, so first edition copies are extremely rare. So if you're into collecting magic memorabilia, that's like one of the top things. Yes.
Yeah.
But, over time, as people stopped being so scared of witches and witchcraft and burning people at the stake, it became acceptable to watch magic shows again.
Okay.
They're like, okay, this isn't real, so it's fine.
Thank God. They're like, oh, I scared myself there for a second.
Exactly. They became a common source of entertainment, including acts like sword swallowing, juggling, and fire breathing. Isaac Fox was one of the first magicians to start doing shows for rich people, and he claims he performed for King George II. This is a quote about one of his acts and like some of the stuff that he did during his magic acts. He takes an empty bag, lays it on the table, and turns it several times inside out, then commands 100 eggs out of it, and several showers of real gold and silver. Then, the bag beginning to swell, several sorts of wild fowl run out of it on top of the table. He throws a pack of cards and causes them to be living birds flying about the room. He causes living beasts, birds, and other creatures to appear upon the table. He blows the spots of the cards off and on and changes them to any pictures. Which some people still do that magic today, but who knows? I mean, this was like back in the day. Who knows what kind of actual creatures he had.
Maybe he was actually a witch.
A real magician, maybe.
Yeah. But the real magicians were like, these idiots, they finally think it's just sleight of hand.
Well, the father of modern magic is Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin. And yes, that is where Houdini got his stage name from. If you want to, I'm not really going to talk that much about Harry Houdini because I did a whole episode on it in episode 41, Toy Handcuffs. You can go listen to his story. Potentially the most famous magician in the world, probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But Houdin, the original, was a French magician born in 1805 to a clockmaking family. And the story has it that when he was a teenager, he saved up to buy a book called The Treatise on Clockmaking. riveting. But he was sent a pair of magic books instead by mistake or fate, and he didn't return them. Instead, he read them and he started practicing magic constantly.
Mm-hmm.
He eventually hired a mentor, a man named Mouse. I'm assuming that was his stage name, but maybe not. He is French. He was a doctor with a hobby of performing magic at fairs and parties, and Mouse taught Houdin sleight of hand, hand-eye coordination, etc. Houdin learned that with enough repetition, he could learn anything. And in the 1840s, he opened a magic theater in Paris, and he was known for creating small mechanical pieces that seemed to move and act as if they were alive.
Wow.
Alexander Herman, aka Herman the Great, was another French magician, and he kind of pioneered the magician look. So, like, a man with thick wavy hair, a top hat, a goatee, and a tailcoat. Just like the French, pioneered what a mime and clown looks like. They also did magicians, so shout out to the French.
Thanks, Frenchies.
In 1873, two men, British performer J.N. Maskelyne and his partner Cook, established their theatre, the Egyptian Hall, in London, England's Piccadilly. The magic tricks these two men were best known for were hiding unique mechanisms in their stages to control audiences' point of view, so the magic was in people and items suddenly disappearing and reappearing or being distorted in some way. So that was one of the first, big stage magic shows.
Sure.
In 1905, a group of about 20 magicians in London founded a new magic club called the Magic Circle.
Oh.
Membership grew worldwide, but they didn't allow women in until 1991, which more on this later. There was, yes, there's more on that. So inside the Magic Circle, which was already a club, there was another elite club within the club that only had 300 people. And if you were in this elite club, then you could add MIMC or member of the Inner Magic Circle to your name. Like, how a lawyer would add JD or whatever. You could be like,
God,
magician, MIMC.
Oh my God.
You had to be extremely skilled to be let in, and if you were ever caught revealing magic secrets, then you were kicked out.
Wow.
The late 19th century and early 20th century was the golden age of magic. This is when Harry Houdini, Maskelyne and Devant, Howard Thurston, Harry Keller were around and booming. This is also when a lot of famous magic tricks were invented. So levitation, escaping chains, cards rising seemingly on their own. Performance magic became a staple of Broadway theater, vaudeville, and music halls. And then now, in recent years, television magic has become popular, often including live audiences so that people watching home can be assured that the tricks are real. So it's like David Copperfield.
I watched a lot of David Copperfield, and what are some of the others?
Well, there's Magic for Humans, which is newer on Netflix. It's really good.
Okay.
If you're interested. It's actually, Magic for Humans, the US one, is produced by the same guys who produced Tim and Eric.
Okay.
It has it's like Eric Andre meets magic.
I love that. I spent so much of my childhood watching, I can't for the life of me remember what channel I was watching. David Blaine, like the live magic on stage, and then they would like cut over and they'd be doing like a cutaway like scene of like something in a parking lot or like in a room, and I have such vivid memories. We were a very much a magic family. My dad got us how to do magic trick kits for Christmas one year. I never got into it. My youngest brother, however, very much into like the card tricks. He's real into magic with cards. And so, yeah.
I feel like it definitely was big in the 90s because I also remember watching magic on TV. And of course, now my family loves magic. I've seen like every magic show in Chicago. I even saw a Zoom magic show over COVID by Dennis Watkins, my favorite Chicago magician. But he had and he still does it. He does like corporate stuff too now over Zoom. Like we should get that at our work.
I'll flag it to the people because I know the people that put the stuff on at work, so I'll flag it.
It was amazing, like what he was able. He had like all these different cameras on him, and even though I was like, how is this going to work? Not in person, but he like it's amazing what they can do. Yeah, some tricks I feel like I know how he did it, and he has really good like sleight of hand. He could basically make anything, any cards like appear the way he wants them to, essentially.
Bananas.
But some stuff he does, I'm like, I have no idea how he did that.
What in the goddamn hell are you even talking about? Yeah.
And if you ask Alex, she'll be like, it's magic. She's one of those people. But okay, back to what I was talking about earlier. Did you notice I didn't mention any female magicians?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's because there aren't that many female magicians in Western magic. Eastern magic is a whole different story, and maybe that's a different topic for a different day. It's more common to have women magicians in
Mhm.
Eastern magic, but
That
it's
makes
estimated
sense.
that only 5% of Western magicians are female. Why is this? Well, there may be a couple reasons. First, back in the day, women didn't want to be associated with magic or the occult at all because, they could be accused of being a witch
Burned at
and
the
being burned
stake.
at the stake. Not
Does
safe.
that like ring a bell to anybody? Yeah, the whole witch hunt thing. Yeah.
Then during the Industrial Revolution, there were a bunch of magic societies, but they were only open to men, like the Magic Circle,
Boys
until
clubs.
1991.
Yeah.
A lot of older magicians, and even current ones, do it as like a family trade, so it kind of gets passed down from like father to son.
Mm-hmm.
In the modern age, it seems to be that most magicians start off as 12-year-old boys. American magician Max Maven once summarized that magic is a white, male-dominated arena because most magicians get into magic about the age of 12 as a social coping mechanism. So he's kind of saying, like, maybe it's like nerdy. It attracts like a certain type of boy.
Mm-hmm.
An interest in magic can also stem from an interest in math or puzzles, and we know that girls are discouraged from STEM subjects at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the clothing. Most magic requires the magician to wear a jacket with long sleeves, a pair of pants with pockets, etc. But fun fact, there was one woman who was a very prevalent 1960s magician, Celeste Evans. She did a bird act in a form-fitting evening gown, and nobody's ever had a clue where those birds came from.
Oh my God. I hope she had like a beehive hat or like,
Who knows? I know, I want to watch the act and see.
Yeah.
Also, back in the day, but even today, if you want to be a professional magician, you have to travel the road a lot alone. And historically, this was harder for women because, they were expected to be home, taking care of all the domestic labor.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it can be dangerous to travel
Mhm.
alone as a woman, especially in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, it's one of the things you start as a kid. So if you're a young girl who never sees a female magician, like a grown-up female magician, then you might not think that it's, possible for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Quickly, let's talk about different types of magic.
Let's do it.
There's stage illusions. That's like performing for large audiences within a theater or auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually large-scale props, use of assistants, and exotic animals like elephants or tigers.
That was really
Then
big
there's
in the 90s, right? Like,
Yes.
that's kind of what I was watching on TV.
And that's what you see like in Vegas a lot of
Yeah.
times.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's close-up magic or table magic, which is performed with the audience really close to the magician, sometimes one-on-one, and it's usually a lot of like cards and coins. And I love close-up magic.
Grace took me to my first magic show in Chicago, and it was a close-up magic show, and Chicago's known for close-up magic, so I'll just put that
Mhm.
out there. It was amazing. And that club, which is really tiny, underground, like kind of like one of those like hidden gems of Chicago, it has now since really kind of skyrocketed and boomed into like a bigger industry
They
here.
They moved into a huge like theater now, which is good for them, but
Yeah,
the show was better before, I think.
it was, yeah.
Parlor magic, which is larger audiences than close-up, but more intimate than stage illusions. That's what I went to. In parlor magic, the performer is usually standing and on the same level as the audience, which may be seated on chairs or even the floor. Escapeology, that's the branch of magic that deals with escapes from confinement or restraints, and that was basically pioneered by Harry Houdini.
Stresses me out.
Mentalism creates the impression in the minds of the audience that the performer possesses special powers to read thoughts, predict events, control other minds, and similar feats. And that's what Dennis Watkins does mentalism. He did a trick on me, and he somehow knew exactly what number I was going to choose for this. I don't know. Talk about it later. Mathemagic is a genre of stage magic that combines magic and math, and it's commonly used by children's magicians and mentalists, and that's what Dennis Watkins did on me. He did mentalism and mathemagic all in one.
On you, the
Yes.
strongest-willed mind accountant this side
Who
of the
knows?
Mississippi?
Apparently he's all right through me. So to answer the question, do you believe in magic?
Yes.
I'm going to end with a quote from magician and mentalist Joseph Dunninger, who stated, quote, "For those who believe, no explanation is necessary. For those who do not believe, no explanation will suffice."
There we go. And that's magic, baby.
There you have it.
Gosh, now I want to go see a magic routine.
I highly recommend the Magic Parlor in Chicago. I would go again, but
Okay.
definitely fun, especially if you have like people in town and
Yeah.
looking for things to do. It's a really intimate show. I think the biggest audience is 50, but when we were there was probably like 15, 20 people there.
My dad, like I said, we were a magic household. We had magic on the TV all the time.
You need to bring him.
My dad was always into magic. My brothers really love magic. And he was supposed to come out for Father's Day. We were going to go to the Magic Lounge. he saw it on TikTok and he sent me a video. He's like, I want to go here. And I was like, for sure. I took Matt's family to the Magic Lounge. We didn't actually see a show, but the Magic Lounge, they do like up close magic at the bar, which is more than enough magic sometimes for me. Like, I'm like, this is amazing. But I think a show would be fun for my father.
I feel like go to the Magic Parlor over
Yeah.
the Magic Lounge or Trickery in Lakeview. That's another.
Ooh.
He's like a younger or newer on the scene ish.
Okay.
Now it's been years, but he's really good, and he does
All right.
like parlor, really really small audience.
Very
Anyways,
good.
That's me. If you need magic recommendations in Chicago, let me know.
Grace certainly has them. All right. My topic comes from the Monday, August 15th New York Times by Simon Marotte. 49 down. Raggedy blank.
Raggedy Ann.
Raggedy Ann. Yeah, I'm talking about Raggedy Ann today.
Amazing.
Did you have a Raggedy Ann doll as a kid?
I did. More so than that, my mom, like, I think my grandma or someone made her a Raggedy Ann costume when she was like a teenager. And my sister also wore it for Halloween, including like the red yarn wig. So I have a gigantic adult-sized Raggedy Ann costume.
That's
somewhere.
horrifying. That is horrifying. I feel like that fits the vibe of your family, though. Just gonna
It does.
say.
It explains a lot.
It explains a lot. I love that for you, though. If you didn't have a Raggedy Ann doll as a child, or you have no idea what the goddamn hell we're talking about, Raggedy Ann is a character, not just like a doll, okay? It is a character created by American writer Johnny Gruel. It appeared in a series of books that he wrote and illustrated for young children. So it started out as a children's book character, okay? The Raggedy Ann image is super familiar. It's a girl doll, kind of like a raggedy doll, right? With a cute red triangle nose and thick red yarn hair. So before getting into Raggedy Ann, I'll talk a little bit about the creator, Johnny Gruel. He was born in December of 1880. He died in January of 1938. He was an American artist, author, illustrator, and children's book writer. He was born in Illinois, but grew up in Indianapolis. In a very artistic household. His father was an American Impressionist painter named Richard Gruel. He was hanging out with lots of artists and writers ever since he was a young child, so that kind of, made him grow up and want to be autistic, which is interesting because, like, I feel like you and I are rather artistic, but, like, my parents were... there was nobody in my house that was artistic. You know what I mean? We got my dad doing magic tricks. That's about it. But other than that, I'm like,
hello, my grandfather was a radio DJ.
Oh, sorry. Which explains why we're doing what we're doing today. Anyway, in the early 1900s, Johnny Gruel was an established newspaper cartoonist. That's kind of like how he made his money. He was well known for his Mr. Tweedledee comic, which was published in the New York Herald. He also illustrated children's stories that appeared in women's magazines, and he had cartoons that ran regularly in a national humor magazine called Judge. So he was pretty established. In 1915, Gruel created and patented his iconic Raggedy Ann character, and in 1918, he published the first of the Raggedy Ann book series called Raggedy Ann Stories, followed 2 years later by Raggedy Andy, which was, Raggedy Ann.
Is that her brother or...
I think they're just friends.
Romantic.
I don't think it's romantic.
Okay.
So until his death in 1938, Johnny Gruel wrote and illustrated, on average, one Raggedy Ann and Andy book per year. Man was prolific. He was.
He's productive.
Talk about productive, right? Exactly.
He's an early riser.
Yes, exactly. So, how did he get the idea for Raggedy Ann? Well, it's a little bit of a myth here, but the story goes that Gruel came up with the famous character after his daughter, Marcella, found an old, faceless doll in the attic which had belonged to her aunt. Gruel then painted a face on the doll and named her Raggedy Ann. Kind of cute, right? Well...
Or could have been creepy if the doll haunted them.
Well, it gets a little creepy. In 1917, Gruel's daughter Marcella, aged 14, died from diphtheria, following an exposure to a contaminated vaccination needle. It's something that we don't have because vaccinations, people got vaccinated and you just don't get it. I think you could still technically get it, but there's vaccinations for it, so we don't get it. She got a vaccine at school, but the vaccination needle was contaminated.
Oh no.
I was going to save this for later, but Raggedy Ann is a symbol for anti-vax movement because of this story. Isn't it crazy?
Oh wow.
I know.
I didn't know that. Well, now I definitely can't dress up as her for Halloween.
Yeah.
Maybe people don't know that.
Yeah, I think it's like pretty deep in.
That's like underground.
But
yeah.
The story of her dying from a vaccine. She didn't die from the vaccine. She died because the needle was dirty. So it was 1917 or something, guys. They weren't cleaning their needles. Anyway, so after the death of his daughter, friends described Gruel as, quote, possessed with a heavy countenance and with the only thing he could bear to have near him as a reminder of Marcella, a rag doll, end quote.
Okay.
In memory of his daughter, Gruel created the series of Raggedy Ann, which is a bunch of a doll going on adventures, and it's set in his daughter's nursery. This was the first volume. The whole first volume was called Raggedy Ann Stories, and it was based off of his daughter, the doll, in her nursery, etc.
That's sad.
It's very sad.
I mean, good for him that he was able to, that was one of his coping mechanisms, but...
Yeah, it's sad. And these stories were designed for children aged 4 to 10, and they were intended by Gruel to, quote, contain nothing to cause fright, suggest fear, glorify mischief, excuse malice, or condone cruelty, end quote. The tales promoted courage, honesty, virtue, and presented a moral end to each story. And Gruel's publisher arranged to not only sell the books, but to sell Raggedy Ann dolls along with the books as a sort of marketing tie-in. And they were a massive hit. Obviously, I think probably the dolls have a more lasting legacy than the stories. When you think of Raggedy Ann, you think of a Raggedy Ann doll. Well, it's funny because Raggedy Ann is a doll in the books. And when people go to sleep, her and Andy wake up and have a bunch of adventures, right? So, but I don't know. I didn't even realize there were stories. I just thought it was a doll, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Right? I never really thought about where it came from.
Exactly. So despite his success during his lifetime and his prolific writing career, he lived in almost complete anonymity throughout his life. He moved his family to Miami, Florida. Maybe this is why he had a Raggedy Ann costume. He moved there in the 30s and began drinking heavily. And I think also participating in other sorts of addictive behaviors. His work and his health suffered, and he died of a heart attack in 1938 at the age of 57.
Only 8 years in Miami.
I know. It's crazy.
It'll do it.
That'll do it. But the story of Raggedy Ann doesn't stop here. It continues in a gruesome manner. So, trigger warning for crime details that some people might find upsetting, so proceed with caution. So, to continue her story, so this is not necessarily a continuation of the Raggedy Ann story, but sort of is. Let's just go. Okay. To continue the Raggedy Ann story, we have to travel to Portland, Maine, 1953. In May of 1953, a man named Douglas P. Adams, 37, brutally killed his 40-year-old wife and 12-year-old daughter. According to a newspaper clipping from the time, Adams used a carving knife to slice both of their throats, a crime to which he later admitted had no cause or reason. He told authorities, quote, legally, I am guilty, but morally, that's a different story, end quote. What does this have to do with Raggedy Ann? Well, according to reports, a life-size Raggedy Ann doll was found sitting in a chair in the room where the child was found. From the same newspaper report, quote, the girl's body was sprawled on the floor. At her feet was a mystery novel. A life-size Raggedy Ann sat on the chair, facing her, end quote. In Adams' confession, he said he had been planning the crime for a full 3 days before realizing the attack, and not even he understood why he wanted to harm his loved ones, end quote. And so that's where that story stops. But there's a great article about this on Medium by Fiona Dodwell, and this is a quote. It may have seemed an odd thing to make note of in a news report that the Raggedy Ann was present at the crime scene seems as unremarkable as if a pair of shoes or a box of tissue were around. Yet the one mentioned was enough to spark up interest, especially in light of the darker legends involving Raggedy Ann dolls, end quote. Which leads us to 1970. 25-year-old nurse Deirdre Bernard is given a large Raggedy Ann doll from her mother as a quirky birthday gift.
Wait, hold on. I have to ask.
Yes.
These when you say life size a doll size or is like human size?
I think human sized.
Like they came that big?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
No
doll should be bigger than like 2 feet.
I also think they sold patterns for the Raggedy Ann dolls. So you could like make your own doll at home. So who knows if this was like a handmade or like a store-bought, but it was 1953, so the dolls had been out for a while and they were very popular. Okay, so now it's 1970. Deirdre Bernard has a large Raggedy Ann doll that her mom gave it to her for a quirky birthday gift. This makes me think of you and your mom so much. Bernard lived with a roommate, Laura Clifton, and Clifton's partner, Cal Rendell, at the time. Soon after the Raggedy Ann doll was brought home, the trio began to notice strange things. The doll would be found in different positions to how they had left it, and they began finding notes around their home, too, written in childlike handwriting. The roommates contacted a medium to ask if there was something going on with the Raggedy Ann doll. The medium confirmed there was a spirit attached to the doll. According to the spiritualist, a ghost of a child, age 7, named Annabelle Higgins, had died in the local area and wanted to ask if she could have permission to possess the doll. Is this coming together for you?
Is this what the movie's based on?
Oh, yeah. I
didn't know that.
The roommates agreed to let the child, Annabelle Higgins, possess the doll, thinking that the ghost of a child could be harmless.
Have you met a child?
First of all, have you met a child? Second of all, if anything's asking you to possess anything,
say no.
Just say
baseline.
No. I mean, honestly, like, there's not much in it for you, really. They're a leech. Sorry to any ghost trying to possess me, but you guys need to find something else.
You don't want me.
You don't want. I got my own demons. Trust me. Anyway, so the trio of roommates agree, thinking the ghost is going to be harmless, but things got worse. Hello. They found spots of red on the doll resembling blood. Cal began suffering from nightmares about Annabelle and was physically attacked with severe scratches in an empty room of the apartment. The roommates contacted a local Episcopal priest named Father Hegan, who in turn contacted his superior, Father Cook, and Father Cook immediately got in touch with the famous and respected paranormal researchers Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Hey.
The Warrens are here, baby. Okay.
First of all, Episcopalian priest. Look, if something's possessed, you need to get the Catholic priest on the line.
You gotta get the Catholics involved.
For all the things the Catholic Church has done wrong, if you, they are who you need to call.
Oh, God.
If there's something
the Catholics
like that
have got this stuff on lock, okay, guys? So if you don't know who Ed and Lorraine Warren are, they are probably the most famous paranormal investigators of all time. Of course, they are hugely suspect. You can literally Google their legitimacy and find a bunch of stuff about them online and whatever. But some of the famous cases that Ed and Lorraine Warren were involved in, not only the haunting with Annabelle, but also Amityville, the Perron family, which is the basis of the first Conjuring movie, and then the Enfield poltergeist, which is an incredible story. And if you haven't, I would highly recommend the last podcast on the left episodes about the Enfield poltergeist. First of all, they're hilarious. It's also just wild. And in those episodes, they talk a lot about Ed and Lorraine Warren's legitimacy. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff at all, check it out. I am very much a scaredy cat, and this stuff scares the shit out of me. But the Enfield poltergeist episodes are very much
it's really funny.
They're really funny, and they're listener friendly. So I don't think you'll be scared. Anyway, so the Warrens are called in, and they confirm that there is indeed an energy attached to the doll, but it's not the spirit of a young girl. Rather, it's a demonic spirit seeking to possess not the toy, but one of the people living in the apartment. Hello. This is why. It
starts with the toy.
This is why. If you got a ghost knocking on your door saying, hey, I'm a recently deceased 7-year-old child, trying to just possess this Raggedy Ann doll. Is that okay? Just be you don't even need to ask questions. Just say, hey.
You give them an inch and they take a mile.
Yeah. Hey, I totally feel you. I have space for your feelings, but I gotta close the door. You just gotta close the door. And you heard it here first. Anyway, so you got a demon trying to possess one of the trio of roommates. And the Warrens convinced Father Cook to perform an exorcism on the apartment in order to cleanse the home. He also blessed the individuals who were there in attendance. And then Deirdre Bernard asked the Warrens to take the Raggedy Ann doll with them when they departed, and they did, and it remained in their possession until their deaths, after which it stayed in display at their occult museum. So I think you can actually go see the Raggedy Ann doll that inspired Annabelle.
Oh my gosh.
In their occult museum. I believe it still exists. So yeah. And I think the Annabelle films, yes. The story of this possessed Raggedy Ann doll was the basis for the famous Annabelle films. Obviously, Annabelle, which was released in 2014, Annabelle Creation, which was released in 2017, and then Annabelle Comes Home, which came out in 2019. Annabelle, and therefore Raggedy Ann, is a horror icon. So you got that.
Although she's not Raggedy Ann in the
movies.
Not. She's like a weird, like, porcelain Victorian doll type situation.
It was Raggedy Ann. So next time you're watching the Annabelle films, for those of you who like to watch the Annabelle films on repeat, just try to like do like a deep fake swap in your mind to make the Annabelle doll Raggedy Ann. And yeah. The
first Annabelle film is horrible. And as someone who likes bad horror movies, it's like not even bad in a good way. It's just like, it makes no sense and it's not good. But I've heard the Annabelle Creation is actually really good.
Okay.
I haven't seen it though. Maybe now I can convince you to watch it.
This is hilarious. Guys, this is one of those things where I look back and I regret.
This is like the biggest strain in our friendship. This is Chelsea. I force her to watch horror movies.
I'm like, I like hanging out with you so much. The point where I will allow her to make me watch horror films. And I suffer. It's fine. I suffer in silence and I scream. So she gets to deal with the screaming.
And that scares me more than the movie.
It's her own fault. What can I say? Anyway, outside of the horror world, the Raggedy Ann books and dolls have remained popular for the last 100 years. Raggedy Ann entered the National Toy Hall of Fame in 2002, and her brother, Raggedy Andy, it's her brother, Raggedy Andy, joined in 2007.
Wow, we found out.
We found out right at the end. So that's Raggedy Ann.
Cute. I'll have to find a picture of my mom in the costume, or my sister at least.
Yes, you will. It's just horrifying. And now I kind of want to.
That took a lot of turns.
It did, right? Like many twists and many a turn. We got children dying, people crying.
I feel like we have a Raggedy Ann doll.
Ugh.
Like it was one of those dolls that we weren't allowed to play with,
Yeah.
As kids. Not because it was haunted, but because it was like
haunted.
A collectible. Wow. Crazy. Didn't see that going there, but it did.
Before we started recording, I told Grace I have a topic that I think you might have done. But it was more like I did this topic because like, oh, this should be cute. And it turned into a topic that Grace would have done. So
if I had known that, then I would have done it for sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, if you've ever been haunted by a doll, let us know. You can talk to us on Twitter at The Good Eve Girls.
Or Instagram at The Good Evening Girls.
Or TikTok at The Good Eve Girls.
Come on down. I feel like our topics have skewed more recently into like the spooky season, like even magic. Like witches and wizards is spooky. We got Annabelle, which is spooky. I'm feeling fall
spooky
in the
season
air.
For me starts after my birthday. My birthday's August 27th. And then I feel like spooky season's right after, September 1st. Decorations are up.
We're doing it. I like to buy myself one new thing a year for each holiday. So I haven't picked what I want yet. But
and a heads up, if anyone's still listening this late in the game, no episode next week because I'm out of town.
Sorry.
I don't think we fully talked about it, but
no. I figured.
Did you know? Okay.
I figured we would be talking about potentially not recording next week after we finished, in fact, recording this week. So
yeah. Well, instead I aired out our dirty laundry on air like always. But anyways, till 2 weeks from now, it'll be spooky season next time. It will. Officially spooky season next time you hear from us.
So bring your spooky vibes, dress up in your Halloween costume, and we'll meet you live on air. Promise.
We dress up in costume every recording. Amazing. In the meantime, keep curious,
please, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Maybe. All right.
Bye.
Goodbye.